Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Taking Up Space with Jordan, the podcast where we dive deep into the mindsets and beliefs that shape how we live and dream. I'm your host, Jordan, a life coach dedicated to empowering women to break free from societal expectations and design the life that they've always wanted. For today, we are going to be pivoting a little bit because we're going to be having a different type of discussion / conversation. And the main reason why is because I have been going through a tough time and I just honestly wasn't inspired to continue to talk about how necessarily the step-by-steps to build your dream life. Instead, I wanted to pivot to something that I think is very important, which is what happens when you start to hit this wall. And it might surprise you, but even a dream life coach like me can hit that wall. And lately, I have been running on empty, pushing myself too hard, and what eventually happened is my body forced me to stop by knocking me down with one of the worst flus of my life. January turned out to be one of the toughest months that I have faced in a while. I felt isolated, resentful, and if I'm being honest, I felt like I wasn't living a life that felt like mine anymore. But the hardest part is I was starting to fall out of love with my dreams, the very thing that I've dedicated my life to helping others to connect with. So today, I want to talk about that. What happens when you lose that spark? And more importantly, how do you find your way back to the dreams that once set your soul on fire? Because our dreams still matter even when we hit that wall. Our dreams are woven into the core of who we are. They hold our childhood wonder, our imagination, and our hope for what's possible. When we lose that connection, it can feel like we're losing a part of ourselves. And that's why setbacks can feel so personal. They shake us to our core. But let me remind you of this. The world, the universe, God, whoever you believe in, none of them are conspiring against you. Struggling with your dreams is hard, and it's okay to be upset. So I want to do something. I feel like I do this at most episodes at this point, but I want you to take a moment. And I want you to think about where you are with your goals currently, right now in this moment. Maybe you've hit a setback. Maybe you're trying to figure out where to even begin. No matter where you are, pause for a second and name the feeling that is coming up for you. And I want you to think about that when you think about your dreams. And I want you to hold on to that feeling. It doesn't matter if you consider it a negative feeling or a positive feeling, but don't worry, we're going to come back to that in just a little bit. Dreaming is not going to always be easy. If you're feeling frustrated, stuck, or like the world is working against you, I want you to give yourself permission to feel it. And this is why I asked you to just hold on to that feeling for a little bit, because I want you to be angry. I want you to be sad. I want you to feel the regret. I want you to feel the joy, the spark of imagination and creativity. All of it is valid. I want you to think of your dreams like a relationship. You're not always going to be madly in love with the other person. There are going to be moments of doubt, frustration, and maybe a little resentment. And just like in any relationship, though, you're allowed to express those emotions. I want you to let go of the expectation that you should always feel motivated or inspired. Right now, it's okay to just feel. I mentioned at the intro, but I have been feeling a little bit off, especially when it comes to my dreams. I've been feeling specifically a little resentful, and that's the word that keeps coming to mind when I do my journaling, when I sit down and try to reflect on what's going on in my life. And I know that doesn't sound like the usual positive, growth-focused mindset that I try to cultivate, but I also believe in honesty, especially in this space. The truth is, chasing dreams, it's not all the motivation and excitement that I think we're led to believe. It's also the exhaustion and frustration. I've resented the responsibilities that pull me away from my goals, my too high energy pups that demand so much of my time, the friends that don't have to plan their whole entire days around their dog walks. And I'll be honest, even my freaking cat, who just gets to nap all day while I juggle work and content creation, and then while I'm filming, starts screaming at me because they want attention. I bottled up those feelings for so long, thinking that they'd go away if I just ignored them. But suppressing them created more distance between me and my dreams. Because ignoring your emotions doesn't work. Suppressing them doesn't work. It's not going to make them disappear. It's only going to lead to burnout. I think one reason so many entrepreneurs give up is this keep your head down and push through mentality, but I don't believe in that anymore. The journey is so exhausting, and sometimes you need to step back and you need to let yourself be upset. You need to mourn your goals. You need to mourn missing that moment. You need to mourn being able to feel, you just need to be able to feel upset and feel upset when things don't go your way, because we put so much time and energy into our dreams that when we just shove that away, we're basically telling ourselves your feelings don't matter. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm giving myself the space to acknowledge when things don't go my way. Feeling frustration doesn't mean that you're quitting. In fact, it means you still care. The real danger isn't anger or disappointment, it's apathy. If you ever stop feeling anything at all, that's when your dream is in real trouble. So we need to start listening to the messages that are in our emotions, because emotions are information. They tell us when something is misaligned, when we're overworking, when we need to pause, or when it's time to shift directions. Instead of pushing past frustration, I want you to try something. I want you to stop. I want you to feel. And then I want you to ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me? Once you've made space for your emotions, it's time to go ahead and start reigniting that spark. But until you make space for your emotions, until you come to terms with what you are feeling, instead of suppressing it and pushing it down and just putting on a smile, I want you to instead feel. Because what you can't do is reignite that spark until you do that. You cannot reconnect with your dream until you decide to be real with yourself about what you are feeling when it comes to it. Because if you continue to try to push through and you continue to just take that next step forward, what keeps happening is you are creating a further gap between you and what your original dream life was intended to be for yourself. When you are putting that gap, when you are putting that, what is that word? When you're putting that canyon between your dream life and what you are doing right now, it's just going to get further and further and further disconnected and further away. So get in touch with your feelings, get in touch with those emotions, what information they are trying to tell you. Once you've done that, then you can start to go ahead and connect back to that original spark and start reigniting it. And to do that, I want you to think back to when your dream life clicked for you. That moment when excitement and a possibility filled your chest. What was the version of you who first dreamed this up, hoping to create? That spark is what is going to carry you forward. You have to make dreaming fun again. A dream life isn't just about achievement. It's about loving the process along the way. Take off the pressure and find small ways to enjoy that process. Pair content planning with your favorite drink. Have dance parties in your living room. Surround yourself with inspiration through vision boards or uplifting creators. When you start to have fun with your dream life again, what you do is unlock the creativity block that you might have been experiencing. And this goes for more than just entrepreneurs. Let's say your dream life is to build a family. Get back to what that original idea came from. Where did it come from? Was it you as a young person playing Sims? Was it you as a person who was carrying around stuffed animals or baby dolls or whatever you were doing when you were a child? Get back to those moments. Connect with that feeling. Because when you are holding in all this resentment, when you are holding in all this guilt or anger, what ends up happening is that it's going to your dream life. You're going to look at that dream and you're going to look at it with resentment. You're going to look at it with anger. And when it comes to our dream life, we have to treat them as if they are a part of ourselves. We have to treat them as if they are, this is kind of going back to healing that inner child and that parts work that I talked about, I think like 6 months ago. But when you're facing a setback when it comes to your dream life, it's really important that you treat that setback with tenderness and care. It could be that when it comes to your dream life, going back to the example of wanting to start a family, maybe you hit a setback in IVF treatment. Maybe you hit a setback in adoption. Maybe you currently don't have a partner. When you take a step back, when you reflect on what's going on, you can give yourself the time, energy, and space to mourn the original plan and instead pivot. And that kind of gets back into reigniting our spark, which is when once you've reignited that spark of your dream life, it's time to start breaking down our goals and our plans to be a little bit simpler and pivot just a little bit, because we can't read the future. We don't see the future. We can't read people's minds, and we have to be open to pivoting. And a lot of the times when we are facing that frustration with our dream lives, it's because not everything is going the exact way that we have laid out. And this is one of the main reasons why I do like to have vision boards, mainly because they're meant to just kind of encapsulate the vision and the vibe. But if you go into planning your dream life with this step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, you put yourself in a box. And our dream lives were built out of creativity. They were built out of our imagination. Our dream lives were not built in boxes. And so when we are facing the problems of reconnecting back to our dream lives, or when we are reconnecting back to our goals, we have to remember that these were not created out of boxes. And so the path to get there is going to take some creativity. And so how do we do this? Well, we start breaking things down. We create things like minimums and maximums. This is one of the main ways that I have been staying mindful while I have been rebuilding that spark and reconnecting with my dream life. Minimums and maximums are basically asking myself each morning, what's my maximum today? If I'm feeling energized, what would that like to look like? What that can look like for me as a maximum can be, I'm going to fold my laundry. I'm going to meal prep. I'm also going to give the dogs a bath. And I'm also going to write 2 podcast episode scripts. That's a lot. That's a maxed out day. That's going to take some time. So on the other end of that, though, we have a minimum. I ask myself, what's my minimum today? And if I only do the essentials, what's the bare minimum I need to feel accomplished? And sometimes that can look like just folding my laundry. That makes me feel accomplished. It makes me feel like I checked something off my box. That's great. Once I have done the laundry for the day, I'm done. I can take the view and I can go and relax. What this really helps with is balance that ambition with rest, ensuring that I am not burning out. And this goes into developing a sustainable routine so that we can continue to show up for our dreams and show up for our goals. A lot of the times with our dream lives, when we are faced with setbacks, when we are faced with resistance to our dream lives, what is happening is we are burning out. We are doing too much, too soon, too quickly, and we are not resting. And this is what happened to me. The result was I ended up getting the flu, and I'm still recovering from that. I've had to take pauses during this podcast episode so I could take a big gulp of water, or I could cough it out and not blow out your guys' ears. But we have to create sustainable routines in order to not get burnt out. A lot of us, myself included, we're working full-time jobs. We have families, we have responsibilities, and a lot of the times that can become too much. Things are piling up. We are not feeling connected with the version of ourselves that is supposed to be there to show up for our goals, to show up for our families, to show up for our friends, and we are feeling burnt out. And we don't want that. We do not want to be facing burnout while also trying to build our dream life. Because personally, I don't think that you can do both at the same time. I think you have to recover from burnout before you can really start to build that dream life. So we do not want a setback of burnout. If you are facing burnout, that's okay. You can still take a moment, take a second to step back, rest, specifically rest, whether that's taking medical leave from work, or maybe it's just taking a 4-day weekend. Whatever you need to do, take some time and rest and then come back. Because when you're building a sustainable routine to help either recover from burnout or just make sure that you're not going too far into burnout, creating maximum and minimums for yourself is really going to balance that ambition with the rest. You need to check in with yourself regularly as you are building sustainability within your life. Ask yourself things like, are your goals still aligned? And start to build flexibility into your plans. So what does this look like? For me, for example, I have a full-time job as well as a new side hustle of walking dogs, and I have this podcast and trying to build up a life coaching business. That's a lot going on. That doesn't even include my day-to-day life of going and hanging out with friends, going grocery shopping, doing the laundry, walking my own personal dogs. There's a lot to do. So how I build flexibility into my plans now is I create minimums and maximums, but I also create one goal for one specific area of my life each day. So for today, my goal was to record this podcast. It had nothing to do with taking the dogs out. It had nothing to do with laundry, meal prepping, anything like that. Instead, I built my day around the maximum of recording this podcast episode because I absolutely needed to do it, because this is the one area that I really needed to show up in my life. What that meant is it didn't matter if I recorded at 8 a.m. today. It didn't matter if I recorded in the middle of the day during my work day. It didn't matter if I recorded at the end of the day, as long as I got the recording done. That's building in flexibility. That's telling myself that it's okay when I get it done. It's just something that needs to get done. It allows me to focus on other things so that I can feel like I can show up into this studio feeling comfortable, feeling happy, feeling ready to go, so I can show up in this space. Building flexibility doesn't necessarily mean saying like yes to everything or no to everything. Building flexibility is specific to you and what your life is. I think a lot of us, especially us type A girlies, we can get it caught in our heads that we need to do everything every single day. And that is how you get burnt out. So I like this idea of building sustainability into my life, specifically with the minimums and maximums, but by also creating one goal each day to help build flexibility into my plans. The other part of this is staying open to change. We have to keep learning and keep evolving in order to keep our dreams alive. We are not going to know the answer to everything. And so sometimes that means asking for help. Sometimes that means spending a few hours on YouTube to figure something out, going on TikTok. But we have to be able to keep learning and keep evolving, because that is going to help us build sustainability into our lives so that we do not face burnout and we can continue on the path of our dreams. Because dreaming is a lifelong process. It's not a race. There is no such thing as beating someone to the finish line when it comes to your dream life. There is no such thing as being just completely done 100%. What's so beautiful about our dreams is that they are going to continue to evolve as we grow and as we learn. For example, I imagine that once I do have a successful podcast and once I am having clients for life coaching, I imagine that dream is going to shift once I've reached that first almost level of what I have dreamed of. Because what ends up happening is once you've hit your dream, once you've hit your goals, you've now expanded to the next realm. You have learned all of these things to get to this point. Now there's so much more for you to learn. And that might sound overwhelming, and it's not meant to be. It's meant to be exciting. It's meant to be enticing, because how cool is it that you get to achieve your dream life and then you get to continue to build on top of that? And I understand life is really hard right now. It is really hard to feel like it's okay to dream, especially when we are currently, if you are in the United States of America, if you are currently someone who is within the LGBTQ community, if you are someone who is a person of color, if you are someone who is basically, not a white man or presenting as a white man, it can feel hard to feel like your dreams are not valid. And let me be the first one to say, if you have not heard it today, that your dreams are valid, your feelings are valid, and you are perfectly capable. I understand that it's going to be hard right now. We are in for a long road ahead of us, but we were already going to have a long road ahead of us. For those of us that experience life feeling othered, we've already been there before. We're just there again. And yeah, it's exhausting. Yeah, it sucks. But does that mean that you give up on your dreams? No, you don't. You keep going. You keep fighting, because you know that your dreams are valid. They were valid 4 years ago. They're valid today. Your feelings were valid 4 years ago. They're valid today. You are perfectly capable of achieving the dream life that you want. It might just take a little bit longer than what you had wanted. But with tools like creating minimums and maximums, in building flexibility into your life, building up that hope, building up those skills when it comes to creativity and imagination and understanding that your dreams are valid and that they matter, you can continue to keep showing up for yourself, even when progress feels slow. The dream you have, it's within reach. One step, one decision, one day at a time. I know it's going to feel hard on some days. Trust me, I've been there. I feel like I was there earlier this week. But it's people like us, the ones that are dreaming, the ones that are trying. Those are the types of people that are going to be successful in life. Those are going to be the ones that are going to find happiness in life. Because when we show up for our dreams, we present in a way that is confident. We present in a way that we feel good about ourselves because we know that we are capable of so much more than what society's box is trying to put us in. So as a reminder, it just takes one step. It takes one decision, and it takes one day, every single day, to show up for yourself. So I ask you, let's go back to that original feeling that you were thinking about, that you were feeling when you thought about your dreams and your goals. How are you feeling now? Are you feeling like you're ready to focus in and figure out what emotions are popping up for you so that you can feel more in control, feel more empowered? Are you ready to take that next step in building out those minimums and maximums and that sustainability in your life? When it comes to your dream life, it is your dream. No one can take that away from you. So what's one step that you're going to take today? What's one decision that you're going to make today? Think about it. I promise, one small step today will make you feel so much better. Send that text, send that email. Do what you need to do today, boo-boo. You got this. Thank you so much for tuning in to Taking Up Space with Jordan. We will be continuing this series on, I think I'm kind of calling it like dream life slump type of vibes. I think that's what I'm going with. But we are going to be really talking about for the month of February on how to rebuild and reignite that spark, especially when we are dealing with these cold winter days, when we are faced with, especially if you're in the United States, faced with a bunch of setbacks, and we're faced with the news. So we're going to be dealing with that and trying to bring not necessarily just positivity back into our lives, but how to reignite that spark in our dream lives, or for our dream lives, maybe how I should phrase that. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked today's episode, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. We are now on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. So I hope you really enjoyed the episode. And if you did, leave a comment down below. And as always, if you are wanting to check out coaching, you can check it out on my website at www.takingupspacewithjordan.com. You can also send me a DM on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you so much. Kisses.